think I got everybody. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Uh, we're being recorded. Here we are. Okay. So for April 24th, we have some fun things to share. So we're going to begin today with a quick refresher about some recent updates that we showed and did show and tells in March, but they were not all the way delivered yet. And so just want to do a quick refresher, not the full on show and tell, but reminding you about new features and functionality that are now available. Then we do have some new things, and so we'll go through those and then want to give you the heads up about things coming up in the near future. So with that, we're going to start with Pressbooks results. So as a reminder, and we have a couple of newish people. Pressbooks Results is our feature that provides grade passback for H5P activities into the Learning Management System gradebook. And so we piloted it last fall. We have folks that are using it in general release, and we've been happy with the stability of it. And we've also been making some incremental improvements and doing great user research and feedback to help us with that. So improvements that have come in the past month, we've continued to expand the student response drill down visualization for the different activity types that you have here: essay, multiple choice, fill in the blank, drag the words, true, false, drag and drop. And I just realized I actually asked Michelle to talk about this, and now I'm talking about it. Michelle, do you want to pick up?
Sure thing, no worries.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, so along with the student response drill downs that Julie was just mentioning, we're also working, you can now see the date and time of attempts of any question in the activity viewer, so that's something new. We've also been working on the LTI and results usage stats page for network managers. So here you can see both a roll-up view of the LTI and results usage across the network as a whole, and now newly, a sort of more granular view about which courses and books are being used across the institution, who the instructor is, and data on whether students are using results in the course or LTI, and specific numbers around that sort of usage. And so we're also sort of looking ahead at implementing some new features driven by our research this term. So thanks for anybody that has participated in that. Primarily, we're looking to make the activity viewer more useful by improving that sort of chapter selector organization, improving some navigation and organization for large classes, navigation between the student responses. And we're also taking a look at the student experience, first with improving the viewing experience of content in the LMS by looking at providing a full screen option. And this is a screenshot of, yeah, the LTI and Pressbooks results usage chart, which I'm sure many of you have taken a look at since it's been updated. Next thing, yeah, we are looking to hear from students that have used Pressbooks results this term. And we'd really love it if you could forward this survey that we've built to instructors who could also pass it along to their students. And we're also have a survey for instructors as well that have used Pressbooks results this term. So we are curious to know how they've used it. It's the same sort of a survey that we sent out to pilot users last term, just updated, just getting a lay of the land of how things have been going and where we need to focus our improvements on coming up next. And then I'll go to the next slide. We are also always continuing our user research, and so we're hosting bi-weekly product discovery sessions on Tuesdays. So you can sign up. I'll throw another link in the chat, but we have a sign up here if you'd like to come and give feedback in a sort of group situation. We're also conducting one-on-one interviews to learn more about how people are using Pressbooks results with a focus on usability. And so if you are available, we'd love to schedule a 30-minute chat with you for a time that works. And as a thank you, we offer a $25 gift card. Yeah, and so that is my little update.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle about, or the rest of the team about Pressbooks results? Okay, and again, if you want to see drill downs of these features, you can look at some of our recordings of the product updates, and you can also reach out. We've been doing more with video content to do kind of demonstration and overview videos and so forth. And you've got account managers who love demonstrating it as well. Okay, let's see. Steele, do you want to talk about our recent webinar that happened earlier this week?
Yeah, happy to. So earlier this week, I hosted a panel conversation with four experienced instructors who'd been using Pressbooks results in their courses. It was a really fun conversation. I learned a lot, and I appreciated just hearing about their perspective. We had an accounting professor. We had someone who's directing the Spanish language program and is coordinating several courses that share the same textbook. We had a person who's teaching a very large online entrepreneurship class that has something like 2,000 students a year and is using video lectures in a pretty innovative way where they're like requiring students to do the assessment the first time and pay attention, which is always tricky with video web-based courses. And then we had an instructional designer and history instructor talking about the instructional design perspective and how they used it in their own history courses. I think it was a really interesting conversation. If you're curious to know what the faculty perspective is about Pressbooks results and how it helped them address pedagogical challenges in their lives, you can check that out. The recording will be posted soon. Or if you want to share with faculty who are wondering, how might this work or what does this do for me, that webinar happened earlier this week.
Thanks. And we'll be getting the webinar recording out for everybody who signed up for it. We can make sure it gets posted in the forum as well. And it will be included, I'm sure, in the monthly newsletters that Jen sends out.
And we're all just worth mentioning, probably, we're also reorganizing, reworking the way that our YouTube page works. And so if you follow us there at all, you'll also receive that. But yeah, it'll be going on the forum, newsletter, and it will probably go live as of Monday or Tuesday, I would assume. We're just making sure the captioning is good to go.
Thanks, Jen. All right. Jen, do you want to also talk about the release notes?
Yeah, sure. So I think I touched on this in last month's meeting. We've heard from folks that they wanted more visibility into some of the updates and feature improvements that are happening outside of this meeting and in sort of a variety of different formats. So we've started publishing customer-facing release notes. Last month's were the first. I will post the link to this month's in the chat, and you'll be able to access all the ones that exist so far. We've got March, April, and then we've got a product specific one for Pressbooks results. We'll be doing this for kind of larger product releases. And I think we showed this last time. I think Michelle showed the design, but we're currently working on visualizing this within the product so that you would have access to this from your admin dashboard. That's not live yet, but it is in progress. And we heard from you last time that it would also be valuable to have this instructor facing and for different audiences. That's not live yet either. That is something we also want to work on. There's a few other things we're testing with how we communicate with people in the product, essentially, but that is on our list to make sure everybody has a way to navigate to the release notes. So yeah, I'll post April in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, so you can click on that and just see, easy monthly update to be able to check on what's new. Thank you. Steele, would you talk to us, give us a quick refresher on the MathJax and LaTeX support?
Yeah, so I think people that have used math before know that there's a couple of ways that people can render math and other scientific notation in their books. There is the native Pressbooks way, and if you just enter in math, we'll render it in the browser using MathJax, and then we'll produce accessible images for the export formats. We wanted to make that native solution more robust and better for a wider variety of authors. The first thing that we knew was that those authors are used to working in LaTeX environments most of the time, and they have a specific notation that they use when they're writing LaTeX. Pressbooks had idiosyncratic notation, and so we added support for just the standard LaTeX notation that indicates what follows is math, express it as with LaTeX. So that's now available to all authors who want to just use basically copy paste LaTeX and put it in Pressbooks. It'll now work in the webbook and across all exports with the standard notation for both inline and display math expressions. We also realized that there's a number of LaTeX packages that add extra symbols like AMS math or like for chemistry or for physics. And so we added default support for most of the supported MathJax packages, if not all. So just about anything you can do with MathJax can now be done in Pressbooks and will be supported across all export formats. And we wanted to make sure that the output was accessible in the web browser as much as possible, and then would display correctly in the export formats that don't allow MathJax or JavaScript to be loaded. And so the things that we did were we added this standard LaTeX delimiters, we added a bunch of common MathJax packages, and we updated to MathJax 3, which is the latest stable release of MathJax. And that includes some really nice display improvements for accessibility and other enhancements that the user who's rendering the content in their browser can control the display and control some of the choices about how they want the math to be represented. We've also talked with a bunch of users who are power users in math and other STEM disciplines. And from those users, we've learned what the most important future improvements are. So the big upshot is, if you have someone who's starting a project and wants to use math or LaTeX, our recommendation is start with the native Pressbooks solution and see whether it meets their needs. And in most cases, right now, we think it will. If they had already activated the WP Quick LaTeX plugin and they don't have a bunch of complicated stuff in their preamble, they could consider turning off that plugin and seeing whether the native Pressbooks solution just gracefully handles what they're trying to do. And in many, many cases, it will. So that's a big plus. If you'd like to move people off of that custom plugin and back to the native solution, most authors will have better experiences now. And we hope that that continues. So to make sure that that continues, I'll take it to the next slide. We prioritize what we want to do next. And what we want to do next first is one of the features that WP Quick LaTeX does allow and that you get in the LaTeX environment is you can define in what's called a preamble custom macros and custom commands. So for example, you might have a very long expression that expresses a common formula used in your discipline, and it has lots and lots of characters in it. You don't want to type that out every time. And so you write like a macro that says, every time I type \F, replace it with this long expression. Users define those custom macros and use them to save time when writing their math. And the native Pressbooks solution does not yet support that. We want to add support for that so that you can define custom macros and then they'll just work throughout your book. This is a relatively minor one, and I think this will be pretty easy for us to accomplish, but some authors want the single $sign to be a LaTeX delimiter rather than a $sign. And so we were going to give people an option where they can opt in and say, when I use single $sign, treat it as a math delimiter instead of as a $sign. We don't want that obviously to be the default, because anybody who's writing about money shouldn't automatically see LaTeX rendered instead, but that's going to be an option we add. And a third thing that we want to do is support automatic labeling and numbering of equations. So many people want their equations to be numbered throughout the book sequentially or labeled automatically. LaTeX allows that, and the Pressbooks webbook allows it to some extent, but we want to make sure that we handle this gracefully across all of the different formats, including EPUBs and PDFs. And so there's some work we need to do to make that happen. And we'd like to improve alt text for the SVGs that are used in the export files. Right now, we're printing the LaTeX expression in the alt text, and we think there are some smarter, better, more future-facing ways to handle the accessible image fallback in those export formats. And so we're trying to learn about what the best options are right now, state of the art for accessibility with SVGs in PDFs. It's pretty niche, but we want to make that better. And last, there is a set of, I don't know what you would call them. They're kind of like plugins for LaTeX. There's something called TickZ, which lets you do some really gnarly graphing. It's not truly LaTeX, but it's a package for LaTeX. And MathJax doesn't support it. So we're trying to see whether there's a way that we can add support for PGF plots and this thing called TickZ in Pressbooks, even though it's not a MathJax feature. We don't know whether that's going to be possible, but we want to do some research. And if it is, we want to make that available for folks. And that's what's coming hopefully soon or coming next with MathJax and math expressions in Pressbooks.
Thank you.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Are there plans to support raw text file inputs? Scott asked that. I think probably not, largely because the text file itself, like LaTeX is a full typesetting engine. And so a lot of the text commands are going to be for styling and for appearance or for the creation of features that Pressbooks already has its own standard way of doing with HTML and CSS. So I think the plan going forward is still that in Pressbooks, you want to use tech or LaTeX for the math specific portions of the book rather than the full styling and formatting. We don't want to have competing type systems trying to happen there. I hope that answered your question, Scott, but if I misunderstood, happy to take it offline.
All right. Thank you, Steele. Now I'm going to hand things over to Christopher to talk about some other new things. Christopher?
Yeah, still gets to talk about super exciting things, and these things are still exciting. So a while back, we had released a terms of service plugin. This is partially to also help encourage users to move away from self-registration and the problems that come with that. And we have made some enhancements to this plugin to allow it to be a little bit easier for networks to request to have a different terms of service. Right now, there's a default one. Our lawyer says it still needs to be approved by them. So there will still be an approval process, but there's an easier mechanism to have a different terms of service should a network like to have that. And we've made a couple of changes in terms of it being a little bit better at handling some edge cases and things where things were getting weird error messages and that kind of stuff. So that's all been cleaned up and made a little bit nicer. And so accessibility is a key pillar to features of Pressbooks, and so we are continuously doing audits and other things and confirming that we meet accessibility standards, WCAG standards. And so in this one in particular, we had some issues with the navigation, some weird overflows and other things that when people were using accessibility tools while also in very specific contexts, things like phones and other things, which are probably edge cases, probably not a lot of people in that context, but this solves some of those problems where they would not be able to see the entire navigation menu if they were using assistive technology while also on their phone or tiny tablet. And also further on accessibility, in our latest review, we found that there was some confusing labels on the exports page. So if you had a number of exports listed and you wanted to pin them or select them, the labels over the checkboxes were not explicit and they were kind of vague. So it just said pin this file. And so you had a whole column of pin this file, pin this file, pin this file. So someone using accessibility tools and assistive technology would not be able to know what that checkbox was related to, which file specifically. So this has also been improved.
Thank you. All right. So with this talk of accessibility, it is not coincidental that we, as Christopher said, we are continually looking at accessibility and doing things to make improvements. This has been a primary focus for the last few weeks. We have new VPAT reports. So we had assessments done late last year, and our team has been in the process of making some incremental improvements to address some of the things that were identified as gaps in the VPAT report, so that when we publish, we will have closed a lot of the things that were there previously, and that we're feeling really good about the accessibility support that we offer. And so we're, I think most everybody probably knows I use VPAT and forgot that I should define that, but these are the voluntary product assessment reports that tech vendors use that basically assess how well their solutions meet designated accessibility guidelines. And so we contracted with the Center for Universal Design at OCAD University. They do a lot of great work around accessibility, and then we've been, as we said, doing a little bit of remediations and things that we definitely wanted to address. And we've added obviously new functionality with Pressbooks Results and wanted to make sure that, as well as some administrative things, and so we've wanted to make sure that that we are in good shape. So we expect to publish the new reports in early May. We will share information online and at our website, and we'll be able to talk more about VPATs, or the VPAT reports in our next product update. So, and just it won't be a pop quiz where we expect you to read it and come prepared or anything, but we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that process. We also have noted and shared last time around, we have an accessibility improvement that's to add H5P preview to PDF exports instead of just having a content block that says this is an H5P activity you can't see. And so we have some code that was contributed, funded by BC Campus as a part of an open source contribution. In the testing process, we identified something that broke in the EPUB exports, and so we didn't want to fix one thing but break another thing, and so we've been working with the developer and addressing the challenges there. So we are very close to getting that done. We do still want to try and get it over the line this month, and we'll keep you posted on that one. Okay, future product updates. So this is something that's just more, it's for you here. And I want to do the shout out to Scott, who tried to use the links that we posted in the forum and said, hey, these are not working. We do have a little bit of a troubled history with calendar links because this is a recurring meeting. And so there's been a bit of a struggle over time. So as we go forward, we want to reduce the problems that people run into with unreliable calendar or Zoom links. And so starting in May, we're doing a couple things. So the Zoom link and the meeting that we've been using is something that I think has been in existence for close to 5 years. It's a really old one and has been quirky periodically, and so we're getting rid of that. We're doing a new Zoom link and a new meeting invitation. And so for anybody that might have your own, created your own reminders or whatever, make sure that you get the new Zoom link. We've added that new Zoom link to the running agenda, and so starting next month, it will be the new one, not the one that we've had for years and years. We also have an ICS file that should import the recurring meetings into your calendar. This worked for me this morning when I tried it. I think, Steele, it kind of worked for you. It worked in Google Calendar, and your free Outlook, it wasn't so happy with. But so that's one option. If we've also posted instructions for using the ICS files. If you haven't imported events, it's a pretty quick and simple thing to do. And we also have a couple of workarounds. So if you just want me to invite you to the calendar invitation personally, I am happy to do that. And we just don't want to do that proactively for all 600 plus network managers because that would be super annoying. But if that's your preference, we're happy to do that. Also, when we post the information about here's what, reminder this Thursday, here's what our topics are going to be, we will post a public link for that particular meeting. So you can add that to your calendar. And yes, Cheryl, I will, in a minute, or could somebody share a link to the slide deck because I'm talking and project sharing. Thank you for that. So we'll post a public link. Public links don't work for recurring meetings, but they will work for like this next meeting that's coming up. And so I will start to add the public link so that if you see that announcement in the forum, you can click on that and pull that into your calendar as well. All right, so we apologize for the inconvenience, and hope that this will help resolve those challenges that we've had. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on chat in case there's any questions on that. Also, just a reminder, we have recently reworked our training webinars. As of, I think, April, we had the new versions up. And so we have Getting Started, we have Creating Engaging Learning Materials with Pressbooks that focuses on interactivity and engaging different kinds of tools for engaging students. And then we've added a session that focuses on preparing and publishing your book. So invite end users, invite folks who are learning about Pressbooks. We're getting a good feedback about those. And with that, I'm excited. We actually have time for a community roundtable. The last couple of months, I think we've struggled because we've had such an action-packed agenda. But it's actually one of typically my favorite time in these is when we have the opportunity to hear from folks who are on the call if you have interesting projects or if you have questions or things that you want to talk about. So I'm going to stop talking now and invite anyone that's here to share if you're doing something interesting or if you have a question for the group.
I'll start with a question. Jen, the version of the slide deck that you sent, I think, is an edit version because it made me request access. And then, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'll look into that. I'll send the.
And then the other question I had is, with Tulsa Community College being we're part of the larger consortium, I didn't know if I would be doing terms of service specifically that request to you, or if that's something that will come from our state consortial person. Do you know?
Sorry, could you repeat? I was thinking
Apologies.
But for the open OCO network, Jamie?
Right.
And if you want the terms of service turned on, I think it would happen network wide. So just check.
Okay.
I would say check with
Tracy. Okay. Thank you.
Tracy. But we're happy to do it for them. I just probably they should know about it for everybody rather than just for PCC. Yeah.
Yeah, as a reminder, how that works is the first time someone is going to edit or create content, they are prompted to accept the terms of service if they had not done so previously. And if the terms of service get updated, then everybody gets prompted. We've all had that experience with something. We've updated our terms of service. Please accept the terms. Yeah, so it would do that for everybody. It should be pretty light, not too onerous, but definitely something you'd want to make sure people are aware of. Okay. Other questions, other comments? Is unlike the iTunes terms of service, yes. Not a ton of scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I just realized one of the things I probably should have put in here and did not, but we can post. So one of the things that will be coming up later, well, it's in May. It's towards the end of May. We have a fun customer panel for the Florida Virtual OER Summit that happens, I think, May 21st and 22nd. And there will be a group of Florida faculty members talking about interesting Pressbooks projects. There's a study guide for a statewide test. There's a fun veterinary medicine textbook that has amazing storytelling. The first time I looked at it, in the first chapter, it tells the story of this rescue puppy who gets adopted by this family and they take it home and then it dies 3 days later. And you have to go through in this chapter that the detective process of figuring out, okay, what happened? What are the practices, the veterinarian rescue environment practices that created the problem, and what could you do to make sure that none of the other puppies in the rescue, get sick and have that problem too. And I thought it was an absolutely brilliant way to just kind of suck people in. It's a really fun, a fun book, and but definitely kind of tears at your heartstrings. And then I think we've got a faculty member who's been using Pressbooks Results and using the formative assessment in interesting ways pedagogically. So anyway, it should be a good roundup of fun projects. And the Florida OER Summit, you do have to register for, but it is a free event. So we can post in the forum, and Jen, it's probably a good idea we can add that into the newsletter as well, so people know about that event. Okay, Misty, question: do you know if interactive chart tools like these different chart things can be used in Pressbooks? The H5P chart features don't have the functionality their instructor would like. Okay, I'm not familiar with chart tools. Shauna, do you want to talk about, you said you've had good luck with Plotly?
Yeah, we used Plotly in an economics book. So it was kind of our only option at the time. So we fed the data in and yeah, and it worked pretty well. I don't love having to do embed stuff though, just in case like something breaks. So yeah, really excited about graphing features. That would be amazing.
So I do have a question then. Is it just some HTML code that you add or an embed code or how did you use it?
Yeah, we had to do it through embed code. I can
Okay.
find the information for you if you want to just reach out to us. I can show you how it was done. And
Okay, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. If you don't mind too, I have a quick update that I can share. Okay, so
Yeah.
So this previous semester, Jason, who's still on the call, I think, maybe, or maybe, oh, there he is. Okay, couldn't find
Yeah,
you.
I'm here.
Yeah, he created this awesome chat bot that overlays on our books. And so it just uses the book as the database for the chat bot. And so we piloted it with one of our kind of like an introduction to college success course because there's lots of students in that course and they often have trouble finding information that they need. So we thought it would be a really good course to pilot it in. And so we did it on two sections of the course. So we'll probably do a conference presentation on it to share some of the results. But the early results were great. They loved the chat bot, but little concerning that many of them said they don't read. So that was a bit concerning. So they said going forward, they would love to have something like that, like an interactive feature kind of overlaid on a press book, because it does make it a bit more engaging, especially if it's a really long book. And, they're trying to find, a specific piece of thing. It'll pop back the section that it's in and it'll give the answer right straight from the book. So very early stages of this, but something very interesting just to see how students are, engaging with educational materials going forward.
Shauna, I'd love to follow up with you about that. I know you said it's very early stages, so maybe once it's out a little bit more, but that sounds like a great story to cover for our blog or something, like find a way to tell it to our audience. It sounds super interesting.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thank you. And kudos, Jason, for doing the technical magic to put that together. That sounds
Oh, thanks.
fascinating.
It was fun to work on. Well, I'm still working on it, so hopefully it continues to be fun.
Are you using an open language model, or are you?
Not right now because we would have to host it somewhere, right? But it's mostly done within the app because I'm using like a RAG system. So basically, I have an embedding database that I build embeddings out of the book for. So it just uses a little bit of API from third party just to do process the person's question into embeddings that I can then like compare against the ones. So yeah,
Very cool.
so minimal cost for the third party thing. And yeah, if I mean, it's kind of like at volume, it would make more sense to host something open, but right now it's much easier to just yeah, to just use some solution that's already there. So
Right. Well, and you got to prototype and know what you actually want before you invest in something that's bigger scale. So
yeah.
very cool. Anyone else have something exciting to share or a question for folks for the team? All right. Well, I think I can give everybody back, about 10 minutes of their lives. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Sean and Jason, for sharing cool stuff. Thank you, Misty, for your question. And I'm going to pull the answer into our community roundtable just so it's there for reference as well. So we appreciate everyone being here and have a great rest of your day. We will look forward to seeing you in a month. Take care.